What is up, everybody? It is time for another MLB Live Before Lock, and sunny skies here today. No power issues or anything like that. Emac, if you're watching, thank you for covering for me last night. So what happened is there was just really shitty weather here. Same reason that the Mets and the Yankees game ended up getting delayed last night, and my power went out just as we were about to be starting the show. So I wasn't able to do it, and Emac, who is always ready and able, he was able to jump on last night. So thank you, Emac. And for everybody else, do us favors. You come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got a 5-game slate to break down. There's a Coors Field game, which means offense, which means that you got a decision to make about the Rockies as well. Like, what do you do with the Rockies? Do you play Erod against them in Coors Field? Do you stack the Rockies in Coors Field? Eric and I are going to go through all of that right here. Also, want to do a shout out here because JT Mack tweeted at us 90 minutes ago, a couple hours ago or something like that. And it was a really, really cool message to see. He says, on July 10th, he won a month of free sims from the Hall of Fame promotion, started his free month of MLB on July 15th. And in under a month, he won over $32,000 using the Stokastic tools, truly the best in the industry. And then a cheers, and he tagged us in that as well. So shout out to JT Mack. And for anybody else who wants to sign up here at Stokastic using our tools, links down below in the YouTube description box. That is also going to get you access to our Discord channel. So go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. If you are in Discord and you have questions for us over the course of the show, tag me so I can see any of those questions. Eric, do you have any general thoughts on this slate about maybe overarching strategies or weather situations or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the Twins one is the one we're paying attention to. Yesterday was just ridiculous for me because I was looking at a big blob of radar over your neck of the woods, and I basically just sat there for 45 minutes and tried to figure out exactly what was going on with New York, and then I just decided to keep everything in, and it was just fine. Benny Tingman, yeah, scared you to death. I mean, mainly because it was a short slate where one game was going to be extremely impactful. We have one pitcher who is extremely impactful on today's slate, that being Tarik Skubal, but he's 11-9, so at least if there's like an in-game delay, like, I think that there's ways that you can appropriately allocate, 20 lineups, 150 lineups. That said, I got a lot to get done here today from a betting perspective for this evening for the show with 15 games tomorrow. Again, I'm playing one lineup on today's slate. Yesterday, I had a lot more in play, so I was very, very attentive to that. But whatever ends up happening with this Minnesota situation for like an in-game delay or whatever we're looking at, I mean, you kind of know the risk of ruin. I mean, if you get a Skubal middle of game delay for over 45 minutes, they're not going to put him back out there. He's far too impactful, far too important, and you're probably just left there eating it. So keep that in mind as we go along. But because Luzardo exists, because we have Bailey Oper in that same game, I suppose, if you want to take some shots on a cheaper piece, there's still places we can go. But Coors Field alongside 11,900 pitcher, we don't get that every day on a small slate, Greg.
Yeah, and let's start by talking about Skubal because he is, like you said, $11,900. The second most expensive pitcher on the slate is Kodai Senga at $8,900. So you're looking at a $3,000 price gap between the most and the second most expensive pitchers. For cash games, I still think you want to be playing Skubal tonight. I think you want to be pairing him with Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo is the easy option to go to for cash games, considering he's over 50% owned and he's underpriced at $8,400. But Skubal at $11,900, what do you make of him when he's nearly 40% owned? Also, if it matters to you, he is coming off arguably his worst start of the entire season.
Worst two starts back to back. He had two bad ones, four earned, three earned. Wasn't sharp in Sunday Night Baseball against the Phillies. Overall, we've seen just ridiculous stuff over and over again from Skubal the entire season. But he ran into hard times against the Angels. Whatever it is about the Angels taking on extreme chalk pitchers or the Dodgers, I suppose, it's just been problematic. But whatever. He had one bad outing at home, his first real bad outing that he had at home. Now he goes on the road against Minnesota, a team that had to play late into the night and wait around in rain, and now is showing up here to Target Field. He's probably been there for a while already. I mean, everything is just setting up for him to mow the living crap out of the Twins. I mean, and I'm kind of cheering for it coming off of yesterday's news that the Pollocks aren't going to sell, but that's neither here nor there. What is here is a massive strikeout opportunity. Now, Austin Martin and Keishel are really strikeout immune somewhat at the top of the lineup. Royce Lewis, Brooks Lee, number of different guys that aren't going to be crazy strikeout bats, but this stuff just precedes everything there. North of 33% to both sides of the plate. Actually, 32.4% to lefties, 34.2% to righties. Strikeout rate for Skubal. I mean, he's Tarik Skubal. It's simply like a weather thing for me, where like an in-game delay is probably shutting you down to some extent there.
Yeah, and Anthony Separulo here saying, is the weather okay for Greg to work? It's a little sunny out today. That could be problematic. I'm fair-skinned. I could get sunburned. These are things. If it's sunny, that could be an issue for me. If it's raining, that could be an issue for me. Listen, there's always a reason to have an out there. But yeah, weather's been nice today. No real issues. Like Erica said, there is some potential issues that could arise in a couple of these games here. Most notably, you got the Detroit-Minnesota game. There could be rain in the middle of that one. So the way that my lineups are breaking down right now, I'm right about in line with the field on Skubal. That's the exact same thing our Sims are doing as well here, where you see that he's showing up in 41% of lineups, at ownership just under 40%. I think that's a pretty reasonable way to play it here. Obviously, if you have the salary to spend up for him, you're not like leaving $3,500 in salary on the table. So at his price point, they're also being a Coors Field game. I'm not looking to get to, like 60% of Skubal or anything like that. I think the safe way to play it here for tournaments is just kind of align yourself with the field on him. I think that's a good way to go.
Yep, probably. Again, if he gets it clean, the guy is an 8.5 strikeout prop. Like, that seems good. Seems good.
There, I wish FanDuel still had it. I was just about to ask you, but I realized they don't have it anymore. They used to have alt unders, which were sick for these situations, because then you go in, like, obviously we know they have alt overs. They used to have the alt unders too, which were great if a pitcher was coming back from an injury, they had uncertain pitch counts, or there was dicey weather or something like that. Because there'd be some of these spots, like the Chase Burns spot for a couple of weeks ago, where you would have been able to bet him like under 5.5 strikeouts and gotten like plus 600 odds or something like that. But fortunately, those ones don't really exist anymore. Let's talk through the other pitchers on the slate. Skubal just kind of exists on a tier of his own. I don't have a real strong stance on him relative to what his ownership is. Here's what we got in the 8K range. 3 pitchers: Kodai Senga, Edward Cabrera, Jesus Luzardo. Senga, Cabrera, they're both owned in the mid-teens. Then you got Jesus Luzardo, the chalk on the slate, 53% projected ownership. Let's talk about Luzardo. Easy choice for cash games on DraftKings. We'll talk about FanDuel pitching a little bit separately here. The ownership is really spread out at pitching on FanDuel. What do you make of Luzardo relative to his 52% ownership? You guys will see here in the Sims showing up in 82% of lineup, so well overweight to the chalk pitcher. Do you like the ownership? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's too high, too low? What do you want to do with a nearly or slightly over 50% owned Jesus Luzardo?
Yeah, this is really tough. I mean, Jesus Luzardo has been a wide range of outcome pitcher all season long. And the one thing I always point to when it comes to Luzardo is the strikeout rate against lefties. That's inflated him to such a ridiculous degree in terms of what his strikeout projections are on a day in, day out basis. I was trying to take the under 7 strikeouts on Prize Picks today, ended up moving to 6.5 on a 6-pick card when I didn't notice it was there, but I'm still all right with it to some extent. He's awful in terms of strikeout rates against righties, 22.6% K rate. However, the righties that you do get here, Dylan Cruz back in this Washington lineup, you get, a number of like Brady Houses and Dylan Lyles, like just not even remotely comparable, league average players, like way below league average players. But, Lyles lefty, Tanya's lefty, Woods lefty, everybody else going to be right-handed in this lineup. And I mean, if he's able to still find some of those strikeouts there, he's probably going to have a really, really nice outing, 1.5 earned runs deal. I mean, he's just been so inconsistent, and it's mainly been a tipping pitches situation. But if you're playing more than one lineup today, I can't possibly make a recommendation to not have a lot of him at 8,400. It's a salary game too, and it's just a broken salary for a guy with a 6.5 strikeout, juice towards the over type number, and everything kind of like square peg, square hole for him to at least find some success. There's no CJ Abrams today. That's one thing. So one lefty removed from it. The other 2 lefties in Lyle and Tanya, they don't really strike out a lot for what it's worth, but James Wood surely does at the top of this lineup. That's probably 2 or 3 for Luzardo. Yeah, he looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm overweight to the field to the chalk on the slate and Jesus Luzardo. I think that is warranted chalk to be getting to at $8,400 against Washington. We got not a question in Discord, but a nice comment, Eric. Hey, I'm Drew 95 says, not a question so much, it's another small slate. Just wanted to say appreciate what you guys do. So thank you for watching the show every day. Hey, I'm Drew. And also, hey, I'm Drew, active Stokastic subscriber who's posting pretty regularly in Discord. So yeah, I know Hey, I'm Drew likes to ask us cash game questions, and you could always keep those coming. And I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him in basketball season in a couple months as well. Is there anything you'd like to be contrarian with in the 8K range? Senga is $8,900. Edward Cabrera is $8,700. Both of them right around 15% owned. Do you have a preference between either of them as a GPP play? Do you like both of them? Do you like neither?
I like Senga more than most people do today. A lot of what we've seen for him is kind of what we saw at times last year. The walks have just been inflated. The walks have been brutal lately. 3, 3, 5, 3, 2. That's his last 5 outings. Here's the thing. He's coming off of 79 pitches, and a lot of it is him just kind of backing himself into the corner with some of those walks. I think it's the same way I felt about him last year. Eventually, the walks are going to go away, and there's a couple of different factors that I think could actually lead to that today. I won't get into all of those because I don't think they really matter as much. We have a projection on him. It's not very good. But let me just say, his range of outcomes, you look at his ceiling, what his ceiling can be in a spot like this against an Atlanta team that is right just short of a 24% K rate over the course of the last month and a half. It just is, it's through the roof if the fork ball is on. And Kadai Senga can be that dude. I do think 95 pitches is still something he can get to if he doesn't get completely, boggled down by all of the walks that we've seen at times. But there's no doubt that he's underrepresented in my mind on this slate. It's just a question of do we need him when you have a cheaper Bailey Ober, when you have a cheaper Tanner Bybee? So Kadai Senga is somebody that I would be taking more shots on if I were playing more lineups.
Yeah, I'm not playing much of either, but I do slightly prefer Edward Cabrera. He's somebody who I've been on for a minute now. I've really liked that he started to throw strikes now. This is a guy who was incapable of finding the strike zone for a large portion of his career. So his first 4 starts of the season, he had 3 walks, 3 walks, 2 walks, 3 walks. Now his last 6 starts, 3 of them, he's had no walks, which he hadn't done in 3 years, had a start with no walks. And he did 3 starts in a row. Then the last 2 starts, only 1 walk apiece. He had 1 game against Seattle where he kind of struggled with his command a little bit and walked 3 hitters, but he still made it through 6 innings, just 1 earned run in that outing. Edward Cabrera is pitching the best he's ever pitched in his entire career. The strikeout upside has always been there. Also, arguably coming off the best game of his career, period. 8 innings, 11 strikeouts, 1 walk against the Braves. And that's just kind of how he's been pitching lately. Also, his matchups have not been easy. His last handful of matchups on the road at Atlanta, against the Yankees, on the road against St. Louis, that's an easier matchup. And then also pitching at home against the Padres. And he's kind of been dominant in all of these starts. All those ones I just listed off, that string of 4 starts, has given up a total of 4 runs in those starts. So I've been pretty impressed with Edward Cabrera, the form he's in, and also how he's just improved over the course of the season. So I always think there's some upside in Edward Cabrera. We're taking some shots there. Chris Williams says, just a show of thanks. You all know me. I don't play a ton of MLB, but been on a mini heater. Some wins bigger than others, but still wins. Made it to the Hall of Fame for the 10th time last night, thanks to the show. So shout out to Chris Williams, who also gifted out 5 YouTube memberships here. So Chris, as always, thank you for supporting the channel. Very much appreciated. And then also here, kind of interested in, where is it? Here we go. Ken Rowdy says, I look different. I should wear a flannel shirt. Look different how? Look different as in I look weird. That's kind of always the case. If we're looking for anything else, I haven't shaved in a minute because my electric razor broke. That's problematic. I have to get another one. That could be something stands out there. But yeah, Ken, any fashion advice you have for me? I like to take it from random strangers on YouTube. I wear mostly cartoon and anime shirts. That's just kind of what I wear. So yeah, let me know. Let me know what I could do to appeal to more middle-aged men who enjoy fantasy sports. That's really been our target audience for a long time. I want to know, how can I look better for you guys on the program?
That is, his appearance is very much what we need from Greg. Everybody cares so much. I will say this too. I like Edward Cabrera as well, but I do think there's a chance that when we get to the flip, just kind of looking around the industry, we might see Edward Cabrera a little bit more represented. against Cleveland, but that's neither here nor there. Kadai Senga and Edward Cabrera, I'm on both of their strikeouts. I like both of them today. I think they're just a little underrepresented. As you said, the walks can snipe both of them. It's been better for the Edward Cabrera side. It has not been better for Kadai Senga. And it still doesn't matter because Senga gives up like 1 or 2 hits a game now. Like, it's just insane how efficient he is in terms of just people can't make contact. They can't see the ball. Neither can the umps that have been calling for him the last couple on stuff that I was looking at today.
Let's talk about some of the cheaper pitchers that we have to look at for today in the 7K range. We've got Tanner Bybee. Actually, let's just look at all the rest of the pitchers kind of grouped together because there's only 2 pitchers in the 7K range. Tanner Bybee, he's 30% owned. Bailey Ober's just over 20% owned. Then you've got close to 10% ownership on Erod. He's been terrible. He's pitching Coors Field. He still gets 10% ownership, though, just because that's how dog shit the Rockies are. Then you got Brad Lord is 12% owned. Then nobody playing Bryce Elder or Bradley Blaylock. Eric, what do you like sub 8K tonight?
I don't like Bailey Ober, but I'm going to play some Bailey Ober. It's just purely he has a strikeout rate. I think he sucks as a pitcher. I hate him. He's a tall goober who doesn't even throw it hard. He's like 6'9", and I hate watching him. I always have. I always will. But he generates swings and misses with the changeups against lefties. He gets Carpenter and Green, who, as good of hitters as they are, they'll also strike out a lot. McKinstry, good hitter, strikes out a lot. Trey Sweeney, not a good hitter, strikes out a lot. Like, we have an opportunity. Baez, like, duh. But more than likely, in these kind of spots, I'm going to side with the offense going up against him. It's just that it's a smaller slate. And if you're trying to find savings, I mean, I'm playing Bailey Ober as my SP2 alongside Skubal. And part of that is, I think I'm just encapsulating the upside and embracing it. Because, like, if Skubal in one lineup ends up getting a range shortened outing, so does Bailey Ober. So, like, I might as well just, like, go for the max with both of them here in one lineup, or I don't give a shit. So, yeah, my 2 pitchers in my one lineup today, Skubal and Ober.
Yeah, it's funny too, because we got this question from Chris Williams. He said he could super chat this. I mean, you just gifted out memberships and left a super chat. So I wanted to make sure I got this on screen so we didn't leave another super chat to ask this question. But he says, for the last 2 games on the slate, if forced to pitch 2 pitchers, who do you have on DK? This is actually pretty easy for me, and it correlates to Eric's answer, which is why I put it up on screen right now. Skubal and Bailey Ober, because the other game is the Coors Field game, and Erod is still super chalky. So what you've got is Skubal is the super, super popular pitcher showing up in like 3/4 of the field's lineups for the late slate. Then you've got Bailey Ober and Erod, both about comparably owned in the middle, and then nobody really playing Bradley Blaylock on the low end. So I like Skubal and Ober for the late slate as the 2 to go to. And yeah, I don't want to be rostering the pitchers in Coors Field.
Nor do I.
And then shout out to JT Mack. JT Mack gifted out 50 YouTube memberships. So shout out to JT Mack, who also is the exact same guy who just read the testimonial from, who's had all that success. Awesome. So JT Mack giving back to all of you guys. So thank you very much, JT, for supporting the channel, and hopefully many more GPP wins coming your way in the near future. For me on the low end, I'm going to be looking at Tanner Bybee in a pretty good matchup against the Marlins. I'm kind of surprised there isn't a bigger ownership gap between Bybee and Ober, but also like that we don't have to deal with the same weather concerns with Bybee that we have with Ober. I like the matchup as well quite a bit pitching against Miami, so I prefer Bybee to Ober. And on the low end, Eric, I don't really have interest in Erod, Brad Lord, Bryce Elder, or Bradley Blaylock for myself.
Nor do I. Why would we?
Yeah, I mean, even playing because I am playing 150 lineups today, and even in them, like I barely get to these guys. Like Erod showed up in 2 out of 150 lineups. Brad Lord's in 4 out of 150 lineups for me. So for a lot of the audience who's just playing a couple of lineups, most slates, I say ignore the low end of the price range. Anything else you want to add about DraftKings pitchers? If not, we will look at the FanDuel pitching options.
No, it's just a spot where we know Mega Chalk is coming in on the Arizona side. And like, there's a part of me on small slates like this where it's like, oh, I want to play the pitcher up against them, because then it's like a way for me to bypass 40% of the field if Arizona doesn't go off. And then the pitcher is probably somewhat serviceable, especially on the cheap end. I have zero desire to do that today. Like absolutely zero, less than zero. I'm hoping that, I have one batter in Arizona in my lineup today, Corbin Carroll, and I'm hoping somehow, some way he has 3 home runs, and that is about all that happens there in that spot, because I definitely feel as though pitcher is clear cut. You're not playing any of the cheapies. You want to mix and match. Again, Bailey Ober, if you want to call him a cheapie. But Edward Cabrera, Kadai Senga, they at least have some strikeout upside. I know Senga, not somebody that you have a ton there on the screen, but I have zero desire to play Brad Lord. I have zero desire to play Eduardo Rodriguez, zero desire to play. I mean, Blaylock would be galaxy brain beyond galaxy brain. No, thank you.
All right, so let's talk about FanDuel pitching. And FanDuel is really interesting because there's not a single pitcher, Eric, projected for more than 20% ownership. I think they did a really good job of pricing over on FanDuel. This is going to seem a really like odd, goofy thing to say, but arguably the most fairly priced pitchers have ever been on any site ever. Bailey Ober is $7,200. Tanner Bybee, $8,400. Skubal's $11,000. Luzardo's $10,100. Senga's $8,200. As a result, all of those pitchers are 10 to 20% owned without a single pitcher on the FanDuel slate north of 20% ownership. So who'd you roster for a cash game of all these options on FanDuel?
I still think you roster Tarik Skubal in cash. I'm looking at my lineup that I built out on FanDuel, and it is not that difficult to be able to kind of mix and match. I mean, part of it is that we get Dylan Cruz back on both slates, and like I'm going to play him on DK. I'm not going to play him on FanDuel. I'm just looking at like cash game options here, thinking through it. Yeah, I think Skubal would actually be the guy for. So, I mean, part of it is watching the weather, and there's not really an out after lock if there is an issue with weather. So keep that in mind. But yeah, you know what? Now that I'm thinking through it here too, because I wouldn't want to play Bailey Ober, Kadai Senga, or Tarik Skubal in that kind of a spot. Like Tanner Bybee might be interesting against Miami at 8,400, just because you know that there's absolutely no weather issues there that are going to exist. And then you probably get all of Coors Field together for the bats. So I just amended my answer. I have no desire to play Tanner Bybee on DK in one lineup, but in FanDuel cash, I think Tanner Bybee is probably the answer.
He is for me as well. And Citizen 47 said, I often hear if you're only playing one lineup, don't worry about lower owned plays, which confuses me. I've always thought that you should play the best ROI lineup regardless of ownership. Yeah, so don't mix up what it is that I'm saying there, because the point that I'm making there is there are all the time I'm playing single entry and I'm playing something low owned, often leverage plays. I can do that all the time in baseball, but there are also a lot of guys who, like, for instance, over here, right? 150 lineups built out in the Sims that I favorited, and Brad Lord is in 2.7% of them, right? So across 150 lineups, there's often going to be guys who might show up in like a couple of my lineups. But at the same time, too, for a lot of people only playing one line, like this isn't one of the better ROI plays on this slate. He's just somebody who shows up in some lineups. And then there are other pitchers here like Bradley Blaylock, who literally shows up in 0 lineups. Bryce Elder shows up in 0 lineups. So that's kind of the distinction I'm making, is there's certain guys who, if I was playing 20 lineups, I might have them in 1 lineup. If I'm playing 150 lineups, there might be guys who show up in 2 or 3 lineups. But if I was playing 1, 2, 3 lineups, there's a bunch of guys who would show up in no lineups just because there's less lineups that you're playing. So that's where I try to make the distinction of which guys are like actually viable options, which guys I want nothing to do with, and just kind of like running the different gamut of how guys might show up in lineups. But yeah, it's not just avoid low owned guys if you're playing one lineup. It's more there are certain guys who I just wouldn't play if I was playing one lineup, because I think they're a viable option, but they're not just so high priority that I play them in one single lineup. We've also got Emac saying, does Lord have a prayer against Jesus in Philly? Yeah, sure, but not a priority for me today. Not a priority for me, Emac.
Go to bed, Grandpa. Go to bed.
It is nearing his bedtime. 6:25 Eastern time.
Good night, gamers.
Yeah. Tanner Bybee for cash games, totally viable for me over on FanDuel. Other than that, I say spread out the pitcher exposure because a lot of the guys look pretty similar over there. Let's talk stacks now. And Eric, what is your overall favorite stack for tonight's slate? You guys will see here Sims exposures, 3 teams showing up in 17+% of lineups, then nothing else showing up too prominently, but Rockies, Phillies, Cardinals showing up the most. Who is your favorite stack?
Colorado Rockies. Eduardo Rodriguez is pulling enough ownership too, where I think that this is an all right spot that we can get a little bit of leverage there. But also, it's Coors Field, and Arizona is going to be ballistically owned in single entry. So that's what I'm focused on. Winds out nearly 90 degrees. Everything is a fully operational, like, let's see some runs in this bitch. Like, we're going to definitely see some productivity, I think, in this one. This will not be one of those Seattle-Baltimore games where, it's got a 9.5 total and all of a sudden it's 1-0 come the 8th inning. Like I feel like every game of that series was the last 3, but we're back in Coors Field, and these are just Eduardo Rodriguez is not good anymore. If he's not going to generate swing and miss, and now not only that, but like a lot of the main ways he's going to generate swing and miss is with a changeup that I'm not sure has enough to really do anything at altitude. So Eduardo Rodriguez is going to be a little bit of a sitting duck there, and you got some functional pieces there in the Colorado lineup: Freeman, Tavar, Goodman, Beck, Doyle. 1 through 5 there. You get Karros, who's again, the back half of the lineup is like just creative players for the most part, but Kyle Karros is super cheap. Farmer and Shunk are salary savers as well. Like, there's a lot of ways to put Colorado together. And you can play a lot of Skubal alongside of that for sure. And I don't really think that in single entry, I could click on Arizona and be like a functional human being. Like, I just don't think I could do it.
Yeah, so we're on the same page here. I love stacking the Rockies against Erod. It's my overall favorite stack on the slate. Erod, I've picked on him a bunch this year. 5.68 ERA. The underlying numbers don't look good, but they do look better with a 4.55 expected ERA and a 4.72 FIP. But this is a guy who has, throughout his career, underperformed his peripheral numbers. So he's got a career BABIP of right around 310, which is kind of an indicator he's a guy who just gives up enough hard contact to where his BABIP just doesn't normalize to league averages. Now, it's 358 this year. That's not a number that would be sustained going forward, but I do think it's reasonable to expect him to be like a 310 BABIP guy or something like that. And that's why his ERAs typically end up being higher than the underlying numbers. And for his career, his actual ERA is 0.3 of a run higher than what his FIP is and his expected ERA. So I like targeting him here. It's the Colorado Rockies. It always feels shitty because they are terrible. But on the positive side, they are marginally better against left-hand pitching. They are against right-hand pitching. And also, they're in Coors Field where weird shit happens all the time. Lots of runs end up getting scored. So this is one of these slates where I'm okay being on the Rockies because they're facing a poor lefty and they are going to be at home. And then as Eric said as well, there's a bit of ownership going to Erod as well. Chris Williams asked us about the late slate. Erod's 50% owned on the late slate. I like stacking the Rockies even more for that particular one. So Rockies are a stack that I'm definitely going to be prioritizing, number 1 overall. Who are the other teams that are important to you for today? How about Arizona on the other side of the game or any other stacks for tonight?
Yeah, I brought it up for a second. Corbin Carroll going to be the guy that I get to in the outfield. He's my one-off from Arizona in that one lineup. I think Washington's really interesting as well. Jesus Luzardo is the mega chalk of the slate. He's way too cheap. But how many times have we seen this year Jesus Luzardo go out there and get he had like 11 put on him by Toronto, I believe it was. He's just been tipping pitches from time to time where it just comes out of the middle of nowhere. And projections aren't going to be able to illustrate just what those range of outcomes can be for him. And you also have, outside of James Wood, pretty strikeout immune lineup when you consider the 22% K rate. So like if the ball's going to get put in play against Jesus Luzardo with some of these righties, more than likely, just based on what we've seen so far for him this year. And I think that at least makes it interesting. 153 expected ISO isn't crazy, but a 337 X WOBA to go next to a 336 WOBA, like stacking them up to some extent, or for me, I'm playing the Bell piece. He only has 3 home runs in 90 plate appearances against left-handed pitching, but like he's traditionally been better than that. Paul DeJong's been absolutely out of control against lefties over the course of this season. So there's just a lot of like Washington interest just purely for the leverage. Plus with Dylan Cruz there, if Dylan Cruz can be healthy and kind of get back to what he was doing before whatever the hell we watched Dylan Cruz do this season, I think we're talking about one of the better young players. 445 x WOBA to start off, 469 expected slugging in the early portion of the season before getting dinged up. And he's somebody who's going to steal. He's going to be like a 30-30 guy, I think, at some point in his career if he stays healthy. Like he's got that kind of speed power combination. So Dylan Cruz, only 23. Everybody knows who he is. He's number 2 pick from 2022 or 2023. He's a phenom. And I think you probably want to play a lot of him in some of these slates early on, especially against good lefties where they're getting leverage.
Arizona shows up in a lot of lineups in the Sims as well. Here's the thing, though. They are so popular. They're projected for 25% ownership. And then in small field stuff, the hitters are probably going to be like 40% owned or something like that. So I get to a lot of Arizona. It's just kind of about what the field has. I mean, the field is stacking them in a quarter of their lineup. So, they show up a good amount, but that's where the field is at as well. So it's not like anything different from what the field is doing for me. As far as a low-owned stack, I actually do have a little bit of interest in the Braves for tonight, Eric, just because Senga has pitched so sparingly this year. It's kind of hard to know what his form is going to be like. And then also, if you look at his numbers overall for the year, he's got the 2.3 ERA, but he's got a 3.86 expected ERA and a 4.05 FIP. He missed basically all of last year due to injury, made one start, pitched 5 innings. So, you go back to his rookie year as well. He was pretty solid, but it was also a small sample size. I'm still not totally sure how good Kodai Senga is. And now he's also in his 30s, and his velocity is way down from pre-injury. He came into the league throwing 96. His average fastball velocity is now 94.5 miles per hour. I don't know what he's going to be going forward. His strikeout rate is also way lower. His rookie year, he had a 29% K rate. It's 22.5% this year. I have real concerns about how effective Kodai Senga actually is as a pitcher going forward now that he's got injuries under his belt. He's 32 years old and a wide variety of injuries too. Like we've seen him pull hamstrings. We've seen him have anything that could possibly go wrong with a pitcher. He's kind of had it at some point in time. So I have some interest in the Braves as a contrarian stack. When you consider the other teams that are contrarian today, it's the Guardian, and by contrarian, I just mean single digit owned. The Guardians against Edward Cabrera, not crazy interested in that. The Tigers against Bailey Ober, I could get behind that because the Tigers have a good offense. Bailey Ober is not very good, and when he does get hit hard, it tends to be homers. He has a high fly ball rate. So Tigers against Bailey Ober and the Braves against Kodai Senga, those are 2 alone stacks I could get behind. Then you got the Marlins against Tanner Bybee, not really interested. Washington against Jesus Luzardo, not really interested. And the Twins against Skubal, not really interested. So in the interest of trying to find contrarian stacks, I land on the Braves and the Tigers going up against pitchers who I think could be a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah, the 2 teams that I think I'm scared about not having, which is weird, and one of them you kind of poo-pooed there. I think Miami's actually extremely interesting. You get speed, you get power, you get Kyle Stowers at low ownership, 185 expected ISO, 196 actual ISO for Tanner Bybee against lefties on the season, just a 22% K rate against him as well, 21% against righties. So lefties, righties, he's not getting a lot of swing and miss. And then again, Stowers, 307 expected ISO for him. Ramirez, 221 expected ISO against righties for him. I mean, you go down the line, Otto Lopez, 205 expected ISO for him and really low strikeout rates. So he's been getting the ball on the bat, or the bat on the ball. It would be weird if it was the other way around for him there. That would make absolutely no sense. And then the other one is very obvious. I am very surprised with myself today. I mean, Colorado just looks so good to me that I wanted to get to them, but Detroit, I could just see Detroit breaking this slate wide open. And it's well, no shit, it's Bailey Ober, Eric. And I would be really mad at myself. I thought I would go into this slate and I would just end up playing it. But because I want to play Skubal, and I think the weather is dicey enough where people might not take that shot, it's a later spot where it's an hour from now in single entry. I'm pretty comfortable in playing the Bailey Ober Skubal combination together. But let me tell you, it would not shock me whatsoever if I had negative points in my lineup at the end of the night against Ober.
Yeah, I mean, Ober, 5.16 ERA, 4.55 expected ERA, 5.24 FIP, 29% ground ball rate, and a 13.3% home run to fly ball rate. The guy gives up a lot of homers, and just flat out not been great this year. In previous years, he actually has been good, which I know Eric has been he had a 3.98 ERA and a 3.22 expected ERA last year.
Congratulations. 1 year does not a pitcher make. Unless we win the World Series that year, in which case I will throw you a parade.
2023, 3.43 ERA, 3.63 expected ERA. He's kind of been dog shit this year. Very, very much been dog shit this year. The last couple of years, he's been okay. But anyway, I like the Tigers a little bit for leverage here. But as far as the other stacks on the slate, because I see some people, Einstein asked about Braves, touched on them. That's one of the low-owned teams I could get behind. But yeah, it's hard for me to make cases for some of the other teams here, like the Nationals or certainly the Minnesota Twins against Skubal. Like Skubal's coming off his worst start of the year, and he gave, or arguably his worst start of the year, and he gave like 5 runs in that. Like the odds that you're going to get one of those 8, 9, 10 run outings against Skubal, it's almost non-existent. So I've probably spoken into existence because of how shit some of the chalk pitchers have been over the last couple of weeks. But we shall see. All right, guys, if you haven't done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And now it is time for dongs. So from chat, I want to know who you guys are picking to homer. And also Eric and I are going to be giving out our home run picks right now. So Eric, who are you picking to go yard tonight?
It's funny because, you do this from a betting perspective and from a DFS perspective. I don't have a single one of my home run bets in my lineup tonight, but that just speaks to pricing being a thing and like salary construction and things of that nature. How about this? Welcome back, Dylan Cruz. 3K today. He had a really terrible start to his season. It was, I would just say abysmal, downright abysmal for him, but the expected numbers were fantastic. He was so unlucky. 196, 266, 354 slash line. No. How about that 469 expected slugging? How about a 343 xWOBA right from the get-go here? I brought up his speed and power. He has both. He's going to do both at an elite level so long as he stays healthy. Dylan Cruz, 3K today. If you're not playing Luzardo like me in your one lineup, Dylan Cruz, dong of the day.
All right, so we're going to throw this out right now. Anybody who's picking anybody from Coors Field, you are just a flat-out cheater. No Coors Field. No Coors Field picks allowed for today. I am going to go with Cedric Mullins against Bryce Elder for my home run pick. Let's see what we got from chat. What's chat going with? All right, Tom Olson has got Matt Olson. Flim Flam Racing has got Ezekiel Tovar. EMAC has got Brandon Nimmo. Sean Sullivan Jr. has got Kyle Schwarber. Jay Miz has got Del Castro. Truffles also is going with Cedric Mullins. Good Greens has got Alec Thomas. Rob Live has got Hunter Goodman. Stephen Leibowitz is going with Jeff McNeil. Eric U03TZ has got Torkelson. OMG Lulz has got Nick Castellanos. NY Stiegel has got Bryce Harper. We've got Ryan Stubbs going with Tovar and Beck. Junior Whopper's got Kyle Karros. Mario has got Spencer Torkelson. Pierre is going with Kyle Schwarber. Sotex is Juan Soto. We've got Artful Dodger going with Kelly Carpenter. William Westry has got Kyle Schwarber. Ken Ratty is going with Riley Green. Long Win has got Hunter Goodman. Big Kev has got Kerry Carpenter as well. Michael Pavlik is going with Dylan Cruz. We've got Fistula Poop Watcher going with Goodman today. Chris Williams went away. Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Chris Williams has got Tyler Freeman and Alec Thomas. Kevin Saris has got Soto and Alonso. Escobar has got Stowers. We've got Jay Morgan going with Pete Alonso. We've got Chris. Oh, no, already answered. Chris. Jeff Williams got Brandon Marsh. Dan C has got Alonso. Ryan Stubbs has got Gleyber Torres. We've got Barnaby O'Toole saying Juan. I assume that's Soto. Junior Whopper's going with Jacob Morse. It seemed like he homered 17 times yesterday. I swear every time I checked the app, he had just hit another homer. Moon from Woo has got Kaifus. We've got old Jeff going with Cedric Mullins. We've got Morse from user bunch of numbers. Aaron Hines has got Ozuna. Hernandez from Father Time. Reg Kell has got Riley Green. Dibdall has got Max Kepler. Mike Sork has got McKinstry. We've got Joseph Ramirez going with both the Ramirez's, Augustine and Jose Ramirez. We've got people always with the fake names. RPJ going with Mo Lester today. Mo Lester.
Wow.
That is for sure one from The Simpsons. For sure one from The Simpsons. Brian Weddle has got Stowers. We've got Marsh as well from SVT Mike. Marsh from the Thunder. James Wood from the Kingmaker. Trey Turner from Don Norris. And then we've got Carpenter from Ice Through 2. Max Video's got Jacob Young. C. Will has got Manzardo. Mr. Tex Dre has got Brett Beatty. And that is going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're looking for bets either tonight or for tomorrow, I know not a ton of action going on today, but head on over to tails.bet. We've got bets that I post over there for free. Eric posts some bets. And then also Wolfie's been posting bets for all of the NFL preseason games. And I'm going to have some stuff that I post for UFC tomorrow. Actually, I already posted a bet for UFC ahead of Saturday's big pay-per-view card. So guys, good luck with all your lineups. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good night.